tired, disappointed, sad, but proud.
The most improbable championship in the history of this sport.
The ball's on Cignetti on that fourth down to not only go for it, but run the quarterback keeper.
He had the Heisman play in the championship game.
Right.
Like, that was the Heisman play.
Losing never was a factor for me.
I feel bad for anybody who had the under. The under looked like a dead winner. And if you had the over, you're parading around your house today.
I'm not sure there's ever an Indiana ever again.
They did not profile like a 10-win team. They profiled like 7-win type teams. I can't wait to let 18 and 22-year-olds go through the
I made a call, today. I said, look, we actually need a favor.
Bear Bets Podcast. Back, tired, disappointed, sad, but proud. Miami Hurricanes come up just a little bit short and give the Indiana Hoosiers, national champion Indiana Hoosiers, Geoff Schwartz. Imagine telling someone that 2 years ago when Curt Cignetti was hired that in 2025, your college football national champion would be the Indiana Hoosiers.
The most improbable championship in the history of this sport. There's no other way to talk about it, Sammy. The most improbable champion we've ever had. They broke every mold of every champion we've had, and credit goes to that staff and those players for getting it done.
And yet, Miami still had a chance to win, right? I mean, that's the truth. The donked field goal, the block punt for a touchdown, despite all that, Carson Beck's got the ball, game on the line, and he did his best Caleb Williams impersonation, Bear, unfortunately.
And it's interesting because I was sitting in that in that corner of the end zone. That's where the press box was. And that play was coming right at. And I thought the same thing. I'm like, oh, of course. And I will say this, the quarterback is always an easy target there. And I think a lot of people are pointing on at Carson Beck. Keelan Marion came out and said, I don't know if it was last night. I'm assuming it was last night after the game, but I saw today. He said it was on me. He ran the wrong route. There was a miscommunication. He came out in support. Like, hey, don't blame him. That was me. That was my bad. And I'll give Keelan Marion a ton of credit for owning up to that, because I think most people are like us, where we don't necessarily see maybe a receiver running, getting a different, we're not reading anything and being on the same page. And that was certainly a talking point last night, that in all three games that Miami lost this year, Miami's final drive ended in an interception. So I think it did make Carson Beck an easy target. I also wouldn't doubt that on that final drive, Geoff, if he might have gotten nicked up a little bit, he took a late hit there, and maybe that kind of rattled his cage a little bit. But I think some Miami fans are a little confused today as to why they went for the deep shot and didn't keep working it down the field. You mean you had the ball at the 41-yard line with 52 seconds left, no timeouts, but clock wasn't an issue there, and bummer.
I don't know what route he was supposed to run based on where the ball was thrown. In that look, they need to have another offensive player essentially below him to pull the corner down. Mm-hmm. That's a typical route you see against cover two, that little honey hole area between the corner and safety. There's just nothing to hold that corner down there. I will say though, look, Indiana, I think, had their maybe shakiest game management game we've seen this season, which tends to happen every now and then in championship games, right? The end of the first half, they sort of weirdly botched. The false start that almost cost them the championship by their best offensive lineman. Mm-hmm. But I will give Cignetti credit though. He uses timeouts well. Called timeout before fourth down, and he called timeout on defense before the interception. He wanted to calm everyone down, get everyone some rest, get everyone on the same page. And those little moments in these games win championships, right? Again, he called a defensive timeout, settle everyone down, get everyone on the right page. And I like those little moments from Coach Cignetti, who seemed to win all of them this season. Look, for whatever reason, and I think there's many of them, Indiana won every high leverage moment for 16 games, Bear. They did it every single week. They won fourth down this game. They blocked a punt. Now, they didn't cause a missed field goal, obviously, but they played defense well enough to force a field goal in that moment. And every game, fourth down against Iowa, big completion, the Oregon game, the Ohio State game, the next Oregon game, every moment of the year, they won those plays, those back shoulder throws. There's no way to defend them. You just can't defend them. There's just no way to defend them. Becker made the catches, Mendoza made the throws, and they just won those moments, Bear. The stat popped up this morning. They lost one fumble all season in the first quarter of the first game. They lose a fumble the rest of the season. Now, they didn't put a lot of balls on the ground, Sammy, but they still didn't lose any fumbles. Like, everything sort of came up at the end of this season.
You can't say they're lucky either or fluky, because they're the second team ever in college to go 16-0. The only other team, the 1894 Yale Bulldogs. I did, by the way, Bear, I texted Jeff Davis. I go, what's the hypothetical on Indiana against 1894 Yale? And he said, lose this number. So
I was going to say, well, what was it? Did his response have 7 letters and 2 words?
Basically, yeah. He goes, oh, that 1894 Yale team had a bunch of 5-star blue chip athletes. The balls, guys, the balls on Cignetti on that 4th down to not only go for it, but run the quarterback keeper. And Mendoza on that run, getting pounded as he crosses the goal line. That's the play of the season right there for a guy who just won the Heisman Trophy.
Yeah, go ahead, Jeff.
And he didn't even have Heisman play this year. Like, there wasn't one play where you're like, he had the Heisman play in the championship game. Right. Like, that was the Heisman play. And, both of them talked about it. Like, they had the wrong coverage that they thought they were going to get. And Mendoza, did a jump cut. It's an unbelievable run. He jump cut behind the center, missed a safety, avoided another. It was an incredible run that I think, again, the championship moments, Indiana's won those, and they won those in that moment. So,
Jeff, you mentioned the timeout on defense that Cignetti took prior to the interception. That was Corey Heatherman's one big regret, was not calling timeout prior to that play. They had it. They knew the formation and they read quarterback draw was coming, and they couldn't get the signal in time. And the one regret that he has was not calling it, because Bassane had it, and they just couldn't get lined up properly. And you mentioned the stones on Cignetti on 4th down and winning those high leverage plays. In the second half, things started to turn a little bit. Miami's offense got going, and I think Cignetti basically said, look, I'd rather win the game with my offense on the field than put my defense on the field after trying a field goal and trying to shut them down right now. So those are the types of decisions that are the difference between a great coach and a good coach, and wins and losses. And like you said, the Bill Connolly post-game win expectancy, kind of what we're talking about. It was a difference of 4 or 5 plays in the game, and Indiana's post-game win expectancy per Bill Connolly was 14%. There was another model out there that I saw that had Indiana right around 30%.
30%.
So the stat sheet and the game flow and the in-game win probability, it kind of said that Miami, despite everything that happened, like Sammy said, could have very easily won that game. And I think that if they were to play 10 times, Miami and Indiana, they probably split. I think they did prove last night that those were the 2 best teams in the country. And it would have been a shame had Miami not gotten in the playoff, because they clearly deserved to be in there. Their play in the playoff clearly proved to them to be there. But in the end, the Indiana juggernaut and what they did all year long, it was odd, though, because you mentioned the false start. I'm sitting there and I'm wondering, is there a little glitch here in the computer program? Is there a little malfunction? Like the last 2 minutes of the season, you have the false start, which pushes them back, and they had to go for a field goal. You had the late hit personal foul, roughing the passer, 15 yards. The things that they didn't do all year long, and taking is this going to bite them in the at the end of the year and lose? Like you said, and in the end, that timeout did make a big difference to get themselves out to get that pick.
That false start was I couldn't believe it. And, Miami should have jumped off sides, by the way. They got bailed out on making a bad decision analytically, because, we've seen this in the NFL. 2nd and 1, a first down wins the game. Really what wins the game is you stop on 3rd down, timeout, first down afterwards. Game is over. Miami should have jumped off sides and given, I know it's counterintuitive to give Indiana a first down, but you would have an opportunity to get the ball back, presumably if you stop them with about 50 seconds left. Now, they got lucky because they jumped off sides, but that should have been an opportunity. Look, the one thing I think Miami will regret most, Bears, I think they they didn't come in this game as aggressive offensive as they needed to be. When they open up the offense, and this is, look, coaches do this all the time. It's not just a Mario thing. Don't at me, Mario.
No,
coaches do this all the time. Where they start kind of slow and figure things out, and maybe you come in wide to own line of scrimmage, and they sort of didn't really do that. We talked about Tony being the X factor, right? Where a guy who cannot be stopped when he gets the ball in open space. And they sort of got that going in the second half. I feel like if you look back and say, where can Miami get better in this game or could have won the game, obviously special teams aside, was just getting Tony the ball earlier in the game, right? Just trying to be more aggressive passing the ball, because Indiana doesn't rush the passer well individually. We saw that in the second half, right? When they stopped sim pressuring as much, or when Miami won first down, gave themselves third and shorter, they didn't sim pressure as much. They didn't hit Carson Beck at all. They didn't touch him in the entire second half. So I think that's where, if one thing, Miami just be more aggressive early in the game. I know it's easy to say now sitting here in this chair, Bear, but that's where I felt like one schematic thing would have been Miami just trying to attack Indiana's pass defense a little more aggressively early in the game.
Well, and also let's remember this: good teams win and great teams cover. Miami covered every game in this playoff. All 4-0 ATS. I believe they covered 7 of their last 8 games. So Miami was a moneymaker for a lot of people this year. And obviously they make the playoff. Bear, we hit that one at 2-1. Before the season, you had better numbers heading into the bracket release, but they cover as a dog 3 times, and they miraculously cover as a favorite against Ole Miss. But, 2 outright wins, and you're catching, 8.5, 9 on the high side of this title game. I feel bad for anybody who had the under. The under looked like a dead winner. And get to fourth quarter, total close, 47, 27-21.
There you go.
So that sucks for anybody on the under. And if you had the over, you're parading around your house today. But the Canes did cover, and the Canes had a chance to win that thing outright.
Yeah, they did. And we all had some pretty good numbers on Miami preseason, midseason, entering the playoff on the Canes to win the title, and those didn't get home. Indiana, I think, was as long as 125 to 1 prior to the year to win the title. One other play in the game that I think people should go back and look at. I was sitting there, and I'm sure people at home were yelling at the screen, and Malachi Tony, what are you doing fielding a punt on your own 5-yard line? And seeing that play develop in front of me, the angle that I had, I'm like, what is he doing? And then you on the far side of the field, you could see Bryce Fitzgerald there. I think they had something up there. I think they had a throwback, or remember, Malachi Tony was a high school quarterback, and he's thrown some passes this year as well. I think they had something up there, because at that time they really hadn't done a ton offensively, and I think they were looking to get some momentum back. I think they had a throwback there, and they might just not have been able. I think Indiana's punt and the punt coverage was so good they weren't able to hold enough people up to be able to go with that throwback. So while I think that, again, just like the interception with Beck, and the immediate reaction is, oh, well, how can Carson Beck throw that interception? Well, how can Malachi Tony field that punt on his 5? I think I can probably find out now that the season's over. I'm sure I think something was going on there. I think they were looking for a big gadget play.
I could pull up on film when we're done, Bear, and I could see where if the guy was where he was supposed to be for a throwback there. I do. Tony was a favorite for a lot of people for his rushing prop over, and that was a pass. Which I think, if I want to change one statistical thing, it's those little shovel passes, the little push pass forward count as runs in both NFL and college. Now they technically throw it forward, so if he drops, it's not a fumble, right? That's why it's done that way.
Right.
But that was an all-intents purposes a run. It counted as a pass, and Malachi Tony ended up with, I think, 0 carries, right? He had no carries in the game.
Initially on the stat broadcast, they put it up initially as a run. It had the monitor up. They had it as a run, and then about 30 seconds later, they said officially go down as a 21-yard touchdown pass to. I'm like, okay.
And I think
that matters.
It does. Look, the adjustments Miami made in that game, I think, in the second half were really good, right? Not really the second half. Like early in the game, they tried pounding the A gaps. It wasn't working. They run a stretch play, score a touchdown. They come back with a Tony stretch play later in the game, score a touchdown. Like they did a good job of figuring out what Indiana was trying to do, and then it just wasn't enough because they didn't win on special teams. That's what it comes. It's 3 phases we talk about all the time.
Yep.
We're also going to have this conversation, maybe not today, Bear, but at some point in the near future. I already know our producers are going to ask us, who's next year's Indiana?
There's none. Zero.
We did that all last offseason. And I don't know if anybody saw this. Our good friend Colin Cowherd got old takes exposed last night because he said Indiana should never be invited to the playoff again. December 2024.
Right. And didn't this year, like, it wasn't this year in the playoff after they blew out Alabama? Like, or it was either Alabama or Oregon, one of those games. It was like Indiana is undeniable. Like, did he pull the old 180 there and then finally come around on him?
At least Feinbaum just is just straight in, like, in hell right now.
Exactly.
He's straight in hell. He hates college football right now, which I do appreciate. Look, Sammy, there's no next Indiana. There's just not. There might be a team that comes out of nowhere, but if you look at it, like the teams right now that are in the same range, it's like South Carolina, Auburn, Missouri. Like it's the thing that made this so special and so improbable is just he got 7 JMU transfers to come with him that just ended up, he struck gold. He struck gold. Like he just hit a home run. He gets Mendoza. We talked about this when it probably happened. I thought Mendoza's film was great out of Cal. I didn't think it was this good. It was this good. His coordinators have been there forever, right? And they stayed with him. They weren't even getting job interviews. And we learned sort of maybe that coordinators leaving isn't great for a program in the postseason.
Oh yeah.
And so like all these things happened all at once. An older team, which Indiana fans hate, but it's the truth. Just own it. Your team's older. Who cares? Like Oregon's old next year. I hope we win a championship. Right. Like just you're older. So all these things came together at once. I'm not sure there's ever an Indiana ever again.
No. And just for mathematical context, people want to quantify how they were coming into the year and how they finished the year. I said on the last episode, LSU was my most upgraded team of all time.
Yeah.
I knocked them up 17 points from week 1, or I guess week 0 to the championship game. Actually, did they have week 0 in 2019? Anyways,
I'm sure they did.
I think it used to be just like one game though. It wasn't a whole entire week of football.
So LSU,
can we just call it week 1?
I agree with you.
LSU 17 points from start to finish. Indiana at the end of the day 14.5. So those are the two most upgraded teams from start to finish all time for me.
I saw someone put a tweet out saying they would make LSU 2019 7-point favorites over Indiana.
No.
More or less.
Really?
2019 LSU. I was curious, like, would you do more or less for 2019 LSU?
I'd be like 5.5.
Okay. I'm just curious. Yeah.
It feels
1894 Yale would be maybe. I don't know.
I'll give this a shout out. Bill Conley wrote an incredible article on that Yale team, by the way. He wrote it yesterday, put it out. It is really, really, it's way too deep. Like you would not imagine the detail he got on that team. He got their schedule. They played twice a week. Like it was an incredible job. So go check that out. He wrote about the 1894 Yale Bulldogs.
Yeah, I'm sitting here just trying to think ahead to
can we change the calendar, Bear? Can we officially be on board with this?
That's the biggest question is like who's responsible? We've talked about like who's responsible for changing the calendar. Is it the AFCA? Is it conference commissioners? Is it like who is it? Because that is it's got to be done because I think we clearly saw the calendar affect the playoff this year. I mean, with Lane Kiffin leaving and people transferring, guys going in the portal during the playoff, coordinators leaving, it had a tangible effect on the playoff this year. And I think with the one portal window now, I think that's a start. But I think if we can, people always say, "Oh, you have to do it to coincide with this calendar in school for the academic." Come on, cut through the BS. That doesn't mean anything. They're not student athletes. Yeah, right. Just have the portal start after the championship game or in the spring after spring practice. Just avoid. Just call it what it is. It's free agency and enough of this. Oh, we need to get them in class because no, stop.
Well, your boy Carson Beck said he hadn't been in class in 2 years, so that kind of disproved that they go to class. Bear, there were 10 NFL playoff games between the last time the college game was played. There was a semifinal game, there was wild card round weekend, divisional round weekend, and then the college football championship game. It's the only college sport that coincides with the professional sport at their championship time, right? Like college baseball's done before the World Series, college basketball's done before the NBA Finals. This is the one that coincides. You got to find a way to either start the season earlier, which is fine. I mean, I wouldn't mind mid-August. It's hot, whatever. You play night games for a month. I mean, that's high school football is played here in the South in August. Why can't you play college football games? And then you end the season January 1st or around there. I mean, look, the FCS playoffs end before the NFL postseason starts, right? Why can't you do that for major college football? So that to me has got to be a change. They got to change the calendar, man. You can't have, Indiana wins this game. And the first thing this morning is like, here's 4 guys in the portal for Indiana. Like, what? Like, can we enjoy the championship before we talk about the guys portaling out of Indiana? So I think the calendar's got to change. I don't have the right answer other than I think it's just got to start earlier.
Well, it'll change next year. It'll get later. Next year's championship is January 25th.
I know.
And then the Super Bowl is on Valentine's Day.
It's because Labor Day is later this year. That's why. Labor Day is September 7th, and that's the calendar revolves around Labor Day. So that's why it's late this year. It's they shouldn't do that. Like, just start the weekend before. Why does that have to start on Labor Day?
Yeah, and I think we're going to see where it's going to stay at 12. The playoffs going to stay at 12. I think that there may be some momentum for some type of bowl agreement where we play bowl games prior to the regular season, or that's week 0 or week 1, whatever you want to call it. You get those games then, and then you start the playoffs sooner, and you have the season end in and around New Year's, like you said, Geoff. Because the later into January you go, the more ridiculous it is, and that creates problems with where we are right now with player movement. So I wouldn't be surprised if in the not near future or immediate future, but a few years from now, maybe we see this movement towards preseason bowl games, and indeed the postseason is your kind of playoff, and that's really it. Anybody got anything for next year that they're looking at? I know I haven't looked at a thing. I had my nice 3.5 hours of sleep. I had my stages of grief last night. Sad, like finality of it on the interception, gut punch. Pack up, go outside, record the little video for Miles that he could post up there. Got on the bus back to the media shuttle, the media hotel. And that's when it hit me. That's what was my ultimate depression. Like losing never was a factor for me. Like I never considered Miami losing this game. I was extremely confident. I think the staff was confident. I'm sure Indiana's were well, but I thought this was going to be the Ohio State game all over again. But yeah, so I was dejected. And then you wake up this morning, and that's when like the anger part of it comes in about the conversions you allow or the block punt, and then you get to chat with your buddy, the Miami buddies you were with all day yesterday at the tailgate, and kind of there to pick each other up and make each other laugh. And like, you know what? We're devastated. We're upset. We're disappointed. We're frustrated because we played for the national championship against the best team in the country and we lost by 6 points. Like things could be a hell of a lot worse.
No doubt. Well, Geoff told us in August of 25 that Oregon was winning the title next year. So we have to bet that, right, Geoff?
I think it's what, 7.5 to 1 right now? Plus
850 at DraftKings.
850, yeah.
So what is that? Probably second or third choice, I would imagine.
So they've got horrible odds. They got 750, 750, 850. They got 5 teams between 7 and 850.
Sure.
Whatever. That's at DraftKings though. So Indiana and Ohio State co-favored there. You see John Ewing has Ohio State 6 to 1 at BetMGM. But you got 5 teams that are all right there. Mm-hmm. IU, OSU, Texas, Notre Dame, Oregon.
The Ohio State schedule next year is brutal. And they go to Texas, they go to Indiana, they go to Iowa, they host Oregon, they host Michigan, they go to USC. So it's a pretty rough schedule.
Ooh, I wonder. Now we know why Tony Petitti and the Big Ten are petitioning for a 2014 playoff, right?
Yeah, that's a pretty, and that doesn't include going to Nebraska if they're a little bit better, right? Like that's. I mean, that they could be better this season. But I mean, they have essentially like 3 absolute gimmies. Northwestern, Maryland, and Illinois, I would imagine, will be a gimme that's at home. Otherwise, in conference, I should say, they play Ball State and Kent State. But those are some. It's a tough. I would not put money in Ohio State right now.
I was going to say, is that like the what we talked about earlier in the prior to the year, Sammy, with Texas? Like Texas, no playoff. Like that was a very, like, people are like, how can you bet Texas not to make the playoff? And you go down the schedule and you can make a really case. So you've got Julian Sayin, you've got Bud Jackson, you've got Jeremiah Smith, but you're going to be rebuilding that defense quite a bit. And I know they've recruited well, but be curious to see what the no price is in the Buckeyes next year to make that playoff.
I'd be looking at Ohio State after a loss next year and just and bet them. And there's not any bone in my body that wants to take that bet at 6 or 7 to 1. And I'm sure Geoff and I were both talking to Rack Jack today. Bear, you probably were too. He's like, bro, the schedule is brutal. I'm like, Randy, it just ended.
Oh yeah, he's all in next year, right? Or like, I've already gotten some messages from other people too, like Oregon. Like, what do you think? I'm like, can we just wait 36 hours before?
Well, to be fair though, I wouldn't be waiting on Oregon title bets at 850. If you can bet that, not necessarily bet it in January, but that's not a bet that I would wait until October to make. Because, Jeff's already saying 11-1, 12-0.
Our schedule is very easy.
Exactly. Where Ohio State might have 2 or 3 losses. And as we know, with 3 losses, they can still get in. So the best time, I think, to bet Ohio State next year would be after one of those losses that they will undoubtedly have next year.
Like this, I know this is an Oregon, like the 2027 schedule for Oregon is brutal. Like 2026 is the year, like this is the year with the guys coming back and the schedule, it's setting up the way it is, that this is like the year you have to do it. Because you go to Ohio State, that's tough. You go to USC, get Washington at home, and get Michigan at home. That's about it. Like that's about it for 50-ish games for Oregon next season. So the question is like Notre Dame. I mean, they're going to be a playoff team most likely, right? Their schedule is easier than this past season. I think there's going to be a little bit of, I can't believe we left them out last year. We got to get them in this year. They go to Miami the end of the season, right? I think November 7th. I see here.
No, it's in South Bend.
Excuse me, in South Bend, I should say. Yes, in South Bend. I'm sorry, but otherwise, North Carolina will be better. They play Wisconsin early in the season. I mean, they're going to finish 11-1 or 10-2 at the worst again, and they're going to be a playoff team. And Carr is incredible. I think Carr, as a Heisman guy, is certainly a viable wager.
And remember,
Bear, they got Clemson 80-1 at one book. What's that say about Clemson?
Yeah, and that's one of Miami's road games next year is at Clemson. The one thing to remember, if you are betting Notre Dame next year, and one of the reasons why those prices might be a little bit deflated, if they are in the top 12, they are in. Unlike this year where they were and they did not get in. So when you are betting Notre Dame, yes, no playoffs or win the title, remember that they're probably going to have to lose 3 games to not be in the top 12. But what about the team that lost the title game? Notre Dame lost the title game last year. Couldn't get back to the playoff. Miami, I read between the lines, read the tea leaves. It looks like Darian Mintz is going to go to Miami. Like the court said, Duke, you can't hold them back from whatever. That's layman's terms.
Correct.
Fletcher is going to be back. Malachi Toney is back. Good part of that. You lose Mesidor, you lose Bain, you lose some offensive linemen. But I think this team could be frighteningly good on offense this year and really good again on defense if guys like Lightfoot and Fitzgerald continue to improve. You got the issue with Miami next year, from what I gather, and I haven't seen the date for the schedule yet, just because of World Cup and stuff, like that stadium might be a little bit of a mess early in the year. So they may try and backload Miami's schedule with home games. And maybe I think the Stanford game on the road is going to be early. I think some other games may be on the road early. So maybe it could be a situation where their schedule's backloaded. And then, like you talked about with Ohio State, Sammy, if you're looking to bet Ohio State to win the title, maybe you wait until they suffer a loss. Maybe that's the case with Miami next year. Maybe you wait to bet them until after that Notre Dame game, because that appears to be a game that might be the only time next year that they're a dog, because they'll be favored over a Clemson team that's in decline. The Florida State game is at home. They'll be favored at North Carolina. They'll be favored at Stanford. They'll be favored at Wake.
The schedule's not hard.
No, it's a very manageable schedule, and that's just from hearing from people in the locker room last night. some of the guys who, and it wasn't coaches, it was players who are returning next year, basically saying, if you think I'm going to be here next year, we're going to be here next year to feel the same way that we do right now, I ain't bleeping going to let that happen. So it is a play. The great thing when you've got players kind of policing and coaching the team, that's a really good sign of a really good culture. And I give Mario Cristobal and his staff for the types of kids that they've recruited. And we'll see if it's great to say it after a game in the heat of the match, in the heat of disappointment, if that can drive them again, like we talked about, like with the Bills on the text chain in the NFL, like just you lose that game and now it's okay. You got to go back 3 preseason games, 17 weeks of the regular season, playoff, training camp, all that just to try and get back to the spot that you were in this year. You have to go through everything with the same desire, the same hunger. Guys that came in when the program was in shambles prior to Mario's first year, guys like Bain, who were there and drank and slept Miami and efforted them to get back. Be curious to see. I think the foundation's there, and I think, like I said, win or lose on Monday night, loss obviously, trajectory arrow up for Miami, and hopefully they can come out in 2026 and back the very impressive 2025 up.
You can get a 20-1 on Miami if you're intrigued. I'll tell you one thing. I texted with a wise guy. I said, "Who's the one team you would never bet at price?" And he said Alabama at 15-1. He said, "There's not a chance in hell." If you thought, speaking of foundation, if you thought the running game and the O-line play was a problem this year, might be worse next year as Kalen DeBoer tries to continue to turn Alabama into Washington, a high-flying, passing attack team. Man, that could be a long year next year for them.
Geoff, something you hit on when we were texting back and forth, and I kind of caught part of it. I was sleeping most of the flight home. Just how NIL and how the portal now, we obviously have seen third straight title for the Big Ten. I think it was Dane Brugler that put out a draft, first mock draft or first prospect list for the draft of the 20. I think it was of his top 20 prospects in the NFL draft. Only 3 are SEC players. I thought it was going to be a rich get richer, but it has been, I've been dead wrong. It's been completely opposite. Like, is this where we are now? Is this going to be what we see moving forward?
So my theory on this is, and I love how much it bothers SEC people, by the way, including our producer.
Keeps them alive.
So I believe, well, I know this for a fact, like the Big Ten Conference has always viewed itself as like, a little uppity, right? Like we do things the right way, right? Academically forward, and we want to represent ourselves in a certain way, right? And I think as far as paying players in the past, they've tried to shy away from doing that in mass. Right now, of course, there have probably been players that have been paid in individual schools every now and then, but I would imagine not as openly and doesn't happen as often as it did in the South. And now that it's legal, Bear, and they have these giant alumni bases and all this money, they're just pouring money in now. Like they're pouring in money because it's legal. And all these boosters that have maybe stayed away for a little bit of time are just donating money. And they are. We see the numbers, right? They're donating money like crazy now into the Big Ten Conference. And these programs who have 800,000 alumni, 700,000 alumni, 600,000 alumni, they have billionaires, millionaires. They're throwing money at the programs now where they didn't feel like they're as comfortable doing it before because it, quote unquote, wasn't allowed. And now it's allowed. And that's my theory. I mean, I think that we're seeing the Big Ten it started, by the way, with better coaching, right? Like when they got Urban Meyer, it changed the landscape of coaching in this conference. And now you have incredible coaches all over, top to bottom, which the SEC had for so many years. So you're paying for better coaches. You're getting better talent in there. And yeah, it pisses people off. Like Nick Saban's like, why would you go up north unless it's for money? Well, it's legal now. They can pay the players. So that's what they're doing now. That he's making my point for me, right? Like this wasn't a thing that was allowed and the Big Ten just didn't do it at the same rate other conferences did. Now it's legal, Sammy. They're doing it. I think they're here to stay.
I mean, if you think Ohio State wasn't sending bagmen around, though,
but Mark Cuban wasn't giving blank checks to Indiana.
Right. Well, it's clear Indiana didn't pay anybody for 100 years. That much is clear.
Right.
But Ohio State and Michigan didn't send guys out with bags. Yeah, right.
I just from the locker room, to be fair, I've not asked every player this, but the guys that I play with who from the SEC schools were openly talking about money they got in college. And like, it didn't happen with many Big Ten players I play with. Now there were more SEC players, to be fair, because that was, the conference for a long time that had more players in the NFL, but they talked about it more openly than the Big Ten players did.
One former colleague, associate, friend who was recruited by a bunch of schools said on his Auburn recruiting trip, they basically gave him like how they have the outlet malls and the strip mall. Yeah. It was essentially like a no limit blank card, go shopping and get whatever you want. It's there's no limit on the card. Go get it. I heard other stories about certain places in schools where the bags would be like casino chips, and you go to a casino and kind of cash them in, like
clean the money, like a
Ozark.
just clean the money through the casino. Tails all this time.
Cecil Newton God called Cam Newton to Auburn though with the church. I mean, it was the Lord's doing to send Cam Newton to Auburn. Yeah,
pay the players, man. Hey, the Big Ten's here to stay. Go Big Ten. Me, long time Big Ten loyalist over here. Sam is a Big Ten guy too.
I was going to say
3 straight national championships for the Big Ten, baby.
Yep. And SEC fans don't like it, and that is going to be something I'm curious to see next year when we look at the playoff and we look at those rankings as they get closer to selection day and throughout the course. Are we going to see a change in the perception from amongst the committee and the pollsters to maybe not say, a win over Missouri or a win over Tennessee is a great win? I guess because that was those were wins that were holding up the foundation of teams like Alabama and Oklahoma and that Ole Miss. Like those were wins that were seen as good. Whereas Geoff, you even mentioned it prior to the playoff, or even may have been during the playoff. Like if you replace Iowa or Washington, who had similar type records to Missouri and Tennessee, like the perception of the Big Ten would be entirely different.
I'm looking at just some way too early, like 2025s. I mean, look at Penn State's 22nd at someone's. Like that feels like an SEC type thing. Just a team off a terrible year. They're just like, 22, new coach.
And 20, you got Rocco Beck coming in. And you talked about who's the next Indiana. There's a comp there at least with Matt Campbell bringing in I think it's like 11 guys from Iowa State. I think he's bringing in.
Yeah. Yeah, way too. I mean, they get the same teams you think in all these way too earlys, but it does feel like maybe the tide is shifting a little bit. We'll see, obviously, when the season starts.
I got 3 Heisman frontrunners for you too. Dave Mason's got Heisman up. A lot of books don't. You want to guess the 3, Bear? You'll get at least 2 of them.
Oh, you're gonna have Julian saying.
Oh well, they just ruined the. We wasted the good surprise on you. There it is. Bang.
CJ Carr.
Yeah, CJ Carr. Yep.
And then saying, and am I missing someone?
I'm not looking at the screen, so if they put it up, I haven't seen it.
Okay, yeah, we can all see it.
I was looking at Penn State's schedule. I was looking at Penn State. Oh, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I was looking at Penn State's schedule. Their road games next year are at Washington, at Michigan. They miss Ohio State. They miss Indiana.
We wasted the good surprise on you. That's what just happened.
And no Oregon either, right? I think.
And no Oregon.
Yeah.
Mason's top 3 in order: Arch, Carr, Dante Moore.
Oh, see, there's proof that I didn't see it because I said Julian saying and I was wrong.
That was incredible. Hey guys, guess the 3 favorites. Bam, there's the list.
I mean, look, I think those make sense. Carr's good, man. I think that there's a chance that he ends up with their schedule being the Heisman.
No, he got really, really good towards the end of the year. So we'll see. And we're the FBS independent Notre Dame schedule. Geoff, you hit on it before. Home game Notre Dame and road games BYU, Syracuse, neutral site, Navy, Notre Dame, Purdue on there. I mean, North Carolina, Purdue. That's an 11-1 type of schedule.
Who's the team that Sammy is going to loudly be against the public on right now? Like it was Illinois this year, right?
Yeah.
Sammy was loudly against Illinois.
We got there.
That worked out well for us. We were right.
Who's going to be like the loud Sammy team that he's like, guys, I'm on their under. I don't care what it is.
Good call. Let me look at the final rankings and find out. This is a great question.
Yeah, I'm curious. Like, is it going to be like I'm trying to think of like, is BYU going to be overvalued next year?
Yes.
So BYU came to mind for me as one of those teams.
I've got two early answers. I mean,
I got one too. I got one too. USC.
I was going to say Oklahoma.
Yes,
okay.
that was going to be the other one. Like USC, I think talent wise,
will it be 9.5?
But their schedule next year is brutal. You get Oregon, you get Ohio State, you're at Penn State, you're at Indiana. The SC schedule is just absolutely
poor USC.
The most public over going into the season next year is going to be the Lane Train, no doubt.
Yes, yeah, it's gonna, and they'll put it 9.5, just knowing that they're going to get the over money.
And they'll probably, what they'll do, Jeff, is they'll hang. I don't know what they'll open at, but eventually they're going to get to like 9.5 over
70 or something.
200. Yeah. I mean, so I can get under 9.5 at plus 150 or 55. Yeah. Maybe. Well, hope for the best, right, Bear?
Yeah, exactly.
That'd probably be the one, I would think. And then they'll, of course, go 10-2. But yeah, those are my two. OU, LSU.
The LSU one is fair. The LSU is setting up to be just a complete train wreck.
Yeah, I agree. There's going to be no in between there. It's either going to go really well or be an absolute dumpster fire.
But then again, I don't know. With the number 9.5, like 9-3 is not the worst season. Like they got to win 10 in the SEC.
For them it is.
Did any SEC
9-3 is going to be a failure for them.
But did any SEC team win 10 games this year? No,
Georgia, right? Georgia did.
Oh, Georgia, right. Okay.
Ole Miss did. Ole Miss won 11-1.
Ole Miss did too. Yeah. Okay. Let's scratch that question. Actually, let's just edit that question.
Are you gonna fade? You gonna fade UConn this year? And your boy Candle?
Haven't gotten that far.
You talk about who these fade teams are going to be. Quite often they identify them. They are identified for us when you get these. When you get people who aren't necessarily in the gambling world and look at the numbers and the things that we look at in terms of power ratings and how you won games the previous year and who you beat the previous year, a lot of the analysts out there do the dirty work for us and identify these. My dark horse sleeper team is this, and when 17 people claim Illinois as a college football playoff dark horse in 2025, you know what to do.
Yes, yeah, just get us the list. Get us the most popular overs, and we will do our thing.
All right. I think we did enough of our thing today. Appreciate the therapeutic conversation today. It was great to be down there in Miami for the title game. It was a great experience. It was great to see my alma mater play for the title. Sucked to see him come up a little bit short, but proud alum today. Came very, very close to winning, and hopefully we'll get there at one point. Jeff, next year maybe we can get Oregon, Miami at least a playoff game, and we can get Bear Bet's college football playoff road show. Would be
just no games in Atlanta anymore. Otherwise, I'm good to go.
Yeah. So for Jeff, for Sammy, I'm Bear. Indiana, congratulations, 2025 national champion. Remember, rate, review, subscribe, check us out. Apple, YouTube, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. That's your bet. More you can lose, you can win.